I'm Audrey Grant. Welcome to the Better Bridge Teachers Newsletter. In this issue, we're going to talk to Jane Rice. She was one of the participants for the first online teacher accreditation program, and that's endorsed by the American Contract Bridge League. This was a really nice interview for me because Jane liked the book review section of that course. We'll get Jane on the line, and here she is.
The story that really got me was his statement that we try and motivate our students and our employees the way we try and teach our dogs, saying, good boy and atta girl. And I heard my own voice saying those things at the bridge table as a coach and in bridge classes. And it's been much more effective, though at first it was very difficult for me to back off of that and simply say a warm thank you. And if I forget and slip, my coaching group will immediately respond, woof.
That is great. They must also have an affection for dogs, do they? Some of them?
They very much, we're all dog people.
I can just picture this. But isn't it tempting? We do say attaboy, good girl, that sort of thing. I love that. You said that it was a little bit difficult not to do it. It really is, isn't it?
Yes, because you very much want to encourage people and say that you notice their contribution. And actually, until I saw you in our bridge certification teaching, acknowledging people simply by saying thank you, I realized there was something I could say that conveyed what I felt without veering off into single person rewards, which I wanted to avoid.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it actually does make a difference in the class energy?
Oh, absolutely, because people don't feel that they're going to be singled out in a way that makes them very uncomfortable. And even if they're glad for the praise, it makes them very uncomfortable. And you can see that sometimes it changes the interaction among their foursome, and not in a good way. So it's much better, I think, to stay away from that.
And I was interested. You also said that you bought the book by Josh Waitkin on the art of learning, and you sort of had a special relationship with that book also. Can you share that with us?
Yes, in part because I'm a Tai Chi practitioner, though nowhere near doing push hands or any of the things that he has done. But as an exercise person, I've done Tai Chi and I love it. But there were many lessons in his book that were valuable to me as a student of anything and as a teacher. And probably the most valuable was that if you focus on really mastering one element of what you're doing, that mastery is much more valuable than you expect. It suddenly extends to other aspects, and then you can select a second element and work on that. And I find that helpful because bridge is such a large, complex subject, and sometimes new players are overwhelmed by how much there is to learn. And so I think this is a valuable lesson for them.
We come to the book review segment of the Better Bridge newsletter. And this issue, the book is M Train by Patti Smith. In grade school, I was often scolded for not paying attention. I was thinking about unanswerable questions. The hill of beans equation, for example, occupied a fair portion of second grade. I was contemplating the problematic phrase in the story of Davy Crockett. I wasn't supposed to be reading it as it was in the bookcase for third graders, but I was drawn to it and I put it into my school bag and I read it in secret. And I instantly identified with Davy Crockett, who was tall and gangly, telling equally tall tales, getting into scrapes and forgetting his chores. His pa reckoned that Davy wouldn't amount to a hill of beans. I was only 7, and these words stopped me in my tracks. What could his pa have meant by that? I lay awake at night thinking about it. What was a hill of beans worth? Would a hill of anything be worth a boy like Davy Crockett? I followed my mother around the A&P pushing the shopping cart. Mommy, how much would a hill of beans cost? Oh, Patricia, I don't know. Ask your father. I'll take the cart and you go and pick up your cereal and don't lag behind. I quickly did as I was told, grabbing a box of shredded wheat, and then I was off to the dry goods aisle to check the price of beans, and now I was confronted with a new dilemma. What kind of beans? Black beans, kidney beans, lima beans, green beans, navy beans, all kinds of beans, to say nothing of baked beans, magic beans, coffee beans. In the end, I figured Davy Crockett was far beyond measuring even by his paw. Despite any shortcomings, he labored hard to be of use and paid off all his father's debts. I read and reread the forbidden book, following him down paths that set my mind in unanticipated directions. If I got lost along the way, I had a compass that I had found embedded in a pile of wet leaves I was kicking my way through. The compass was old and rusted, but it still worked, connecting the earth and the stars. It told me where I was standing and which way was west, but not where I was going, and nothing of my worth. It's an interesting story about what Patty Smith was thinking about when she was scolded for not paying attention. What we might be interrupting in a student's mind is almost unthinkable. So we were saying we love the teacher's guarantee. I won't be asking you any questions unless you volunteer, so don't be afraid to make eye contact with me. M-Train, Patty Smith. We had an experience in Iowa that we'd like to share. Nancy Wilson organized a Better Bridge Teacher training program, and for the demonstration lesson, we decided that we would do Bridge for the Absolute Beginner. Nancy advertised it and got about 100 students. This was a first experience for me. I had 100 students classified as absolute beginners, and there were also about 20 or more teachers observing this. It was such an interesting experience. Now, the first thing that I said was an example of safety. You know, I won't ask you any questions, so don't be afraid to make eye contact. And there's just laughter went across the room. The second thing was to introduce something about the game and create some energy while I was doing it. The game is luck, and it's skill. Well, that doesn't really have much that you would classify as energy, but here was the next thing. Ladies and gentlemen, look at the person opposite you and think of something that you adore about that person. That was my hope, that some energy would be generated, and it was fantastic. I mean, we might wonder what's funny about that, but just take a look at this video.
So let me tell you the teacher's guarantee, and that is I will not ask you any questions unless you volunteer, ladies and gentlemen, so don't be afraid to make eye contact with me. Look at the person sitting opposite you and think of something you adore about that person. Could you do that right now? All right.
With the teachers, just after the event, we were talking about how surprising it is when we think of what the students will find funny. And Bonnie Newton had expressed that she was quite surprised at just this whole course. It didn't meet her what she expected at all. So I would just like to share with you an interview with Bonnie Newton. It's Iowa, and it's the fall, and it's just after this class with 100 absolute beginners. The interview with Bonnie Newton.
Well, I took it because it was an obligation. Our club decided to have this, and I'm part of the unit and I'm part of the education, and I felt like I had to come. Did I expect to get anything out of it? No. But I decided I better come because I better support our unit.
And did you get anything out of it?
Oh, I got a lot. I'm just amazed at the things I've learned. I've been teaching for over 10 years, and I teach a lot of classes. One of the things was putting the cards in the bidding box. that is so great, because what I used to do is I used to have them put the cards down, and then I'd have them put a piece of paper on top of there. And the other thing I loved was the fact that you clean off the whole table, because I would always have all these people rattling all this paper all over the place, and the organization to put it under there. Then the idea of even starting the class was saying no questions, guaranteeing them that I'm not going to ask any questions. I thought that was great. I mean, I never do call on people, but to tell them ahead of time, I thought was really good. And then I like the way that you always break things up with little jokes, little things to get, it makes the mood so, it really develops the mood. And then the control that you have over a large class. That's one of the things that I have a hard time with when I when I have them play hands, to keep them at the same speed. And I like the fact that you gave them so many minutes, and then you said, okay, let's put them away and put them in the bidding box. I got a lot out of it, and I think it'll help me a great deal.
Bridge Basics 1. Don't be afraid to use it for absolute beginners. It is absolutely perfect. Well, that's it, and I'm Audrey Grant signing off for this issue of the Better Bridge Teachers Newsletter.